Good evening, race fans, and welcome to the 2022 Midwest Sim Racing Association Rapid Fired Pizza Nationals. We are here today at the Circuit of the Americas, 40 laps for the entirety of today's session, with a stage break at lap 14 for today's race. My name is Mason Heimbaugh with Team Goon Squad, bringing you the action today in 1080p 60 frames a second as drivers prepare and get themselves onto the starting grid for the start of today's race. It's Billy Fitzgerald in the 22 machine out in first place with David Santini in the 79. Going to be in second place, John Binder. In the 33, going to be in third place with Kenny Meadows. In the 96, in fourth place, Matthew Dyer in the 2 machine. In fifth place, Evan Longanker, in the 95, going to be in sixth place. Diego Villalobos in the 43 in seventh. Colby Baber in the 10 machine, going to be in eighth place. Barry Stevens in the 78, going to be in 9th. Robert Norfleet in the 56, going to be in 10th. Braxton DeWeest in the 8, going to be in 11th. Bobby Harmon in the 12th place spot at the moment. Moving down the line is going to be Matt White in the 48. And starting in 13th, Jeffrey Meyer in 14th. Julio Villalobos Jr. in 15th. Brent Wall in 16th. Timothy Davis in 17th. And Richard Malagani in 18th. And that is going to be the start of our lineup here for today's race, and as our drivers patiently wait behind the pace car, as we have still a couple drivers yet to make their way down here to the starting line, getting themselves ready for the start of today's race. And as we are going to have 40 laps here today at Circuit of the Americas, traditionally a Grand Prix circuit, usually hosting events such as the Formula One Grand Prix, among other events. But here today, we are going to be taking the Xfinity cars here around COTA, and I gotta say, this is going to be an interesting one here today, as taking cars that normally don't turn right and forcing them to do so always poses some very interesting action here for today. So as we see our field kind of working their way through that twisting and turning, bending section here of Circuit of the America, I gotta say that this is going to be rather, excuse me there folks, it's going to be rather interesting to see how these drivers tackle a lot of these challenging corners of this track here, as there are multiple portions of the track that will pose some rather interesting challenges for these drivers here today. So with a total of 20 turns here at this track, and as the pace car dives down here into pit road, we are going to see the green flag fly here for the very first time as we come out of the final turn here, turn 20. We're going to come across the checkered line with the green flag. And once they cross that, there it is, the lights are on, the flag is flying for all the drivers here. It's going to be Billy Fitzgerald, Devin Santini, all roaring into the first turn here, slowing down. Very nice hairpin here. All these drivers doing all they can, trying to hold it together. Matthew Dyer in the 4th place spot in that number 2 machine, falling back just a little bit, but we have battles forming between these drivers, as we have quite a few having some issues right out of the gate. So we look here with Matt White in the 48 machine, followed behind Julio in the 45 on his outside. Look at this. Oh, he's got the 48. Matt White goes sideways right in front of him. All of these guys here are going to be challenged in multiple ways here right out of the start of this race here. And look at this, we have more drivers. Kenny Meadows sideways out of another hairpin here. In the 96 Rolex sponsored Xfinity machine here. But looking up front, it's Billy Fitzgerald in the 22 taking the lead at this point in time, and David Santini in the 79 taking that second place spot at this point in time, trying to follow behind what he can, as much as he can here. As we are just now approaching the final few turns here of our first lap here at Circuit of the Americas. We are going to see for the first time what these drivers are going to be setting pace-wise across this very difficult circuit. Now, with all of these drivers all competing for position, for spots, early on, in the early stages of this race here, you can see Evan Longacre, 95, getting very close. Braxton DeWeese also in the 8 machine, trailing behind Evan Longacre in that 95 machine. And Longacre going to take it down on the inside here as drivers come across the line for the end of lap 1. 40 laps that we're going to be completing here once again for this race. And my, oh my, this action here for these drivers is only getting more and more exciting as things go on. Matthew Dyer, look at this great view of drivers working their way through the S's. Matthew Dyer now following behind Diego Villalobos in the 43, holding on to that third place spot here. Villalobos seemingly doing quite well here with his line work here at Circuit of the Americas. In a car that is not exactly intended to be raced at tracks such as Circuit of the Americas. You kind of have to adapt your driving style and also adapt how you drive the car quite significantly, as we have drivers just kind of patiently seeing what they can do here kind of in these settings. We're going to ride on board here with Braxton DeWeese for a moment as he tries to trail down. It's going to be Matthew Dyer up just in front of him, just under a second and a quarter in pace at the moment between these two drivers. Braxton DeWeese holding on to that 5th place spot, trying to do what he can to catch back up, and that's not going to be exactly easy. 20 turns of 20 very difficult turns here that we have here at COTA, and not a single one of them is going to be easier than the first, especially given that this is naturally a Grand Prix track. And you'll also see MotoGP as well as other series come to a track like this, but for these cars specifically, cars that are normally designed to be taken around an oval, to come here and try and tackle a track such as this one is always a great thing to see. As we try and find the action for you folks at home, making sure that we're sticking with, oh, look at that. Kenny Meadows, a little bit of an issue there in the 96 there as we're tuning to Robert Norfleet in the 56 with Julio Villalobos right behind him in the 45. Holding on to that 10th place spot is Robert Norfleet in the same spot as where he started at the beginning of this race here. It's only lap 3 at the moment, but given how much carnage we've already seen, Jeffrey Meyer also seems to be involved. A little bit of an incident a little bit ago. A lot of these guys here going to see a lot of very difficult racing, both at the start and towards the end of the race as things settle out. tire wear, I am sure, is going to be a major factor towards the later portion of this race here, and we'll have to see as things progress on. But lap 14 is going to be our stage break, so we will see drivers come down behind the pace car and possibly down into pit road for lap 14 for that planned caution. Now at the moment, third place, Diego Villalobos, Braxton DeWeese, Matthew Dyer. Ooh, wow, Diego very, very wide. I think that was out of turn. Nope, that was out of turn 20. It's going to be Diego Villalobos, Braxton DeWeese, both battling door-to-door here. Going into turn 1, into the hairpin. Diego right on the outside. Diego going to be in the opportune spot there. Takes out in front for that third place spot, holding on to it. Braxton DeWeese going to trail behind the 43 now, trying to do what he can. Matthew Dyer. Oh, look at that. Diego up onto the curb, onto the turtle there. Whoa. 2 tires up off the ground there. Looked like he was going to go sideways for a moment. It's Matthew Dyer now, also going to be challenging Braxton DeWeese in that 8 machine, bringing this battle for third all the way up to a 3-way battle now, as Matthew Dyer a little bit off the pace now, but it's going to trail right back in, get right back into the mix of things. Goes wide here through the hairpin. Very good work there from Matthew Dyer, trying to stick with this battle for third and hopefully be able to compete for a podium towards the later portion of this race. But just behind these drivers, Evan Longacre, Colby Babber, John Binder, all battling for another 3-way battle here for 6th place at this point in time. The 33, John Binder. Wow, Colby, great work there, trying to stick with John Binder as closely as he can, even with the issues that he appears to be having at this point in time. But John Binder leading this trail of drivers, and you can see the different line work that all of these drivers are having. And normally, when you're following in a line like this with cars on a track like this, you want to stay as generally as similar as possible, unless you're trying to make that pass, you're trying to overtake. But again, these cars are not designed to turn right, or really to turn the way that they are being forced to here today. It is extremely difficult to get that turn in the way that you want. These cars are obviously turning left, a little bit easier. Turning right, you kind of have to fight it a little bit more. I'm sure drivers would have a little bit more of an explanation and be able to give you a little bit more, as I'm not too much of an expert when it comes to the Xfinity cars. But however, I do know that oh wow, look at that. Diego Villalobos, the number 43, both wheels up off the ground. He smacked that turtle on the curb, and that, oh man, if I hope that Diego does not have a motion sim, as I'm sure that probably gave him a good jolt in that seat. Braxton DeWeese, though, down on the inside. Diego Villalobos, they're going to be door-to-door here. They come out of turn, I believe that is turn 11. Still door-to-door here. It's the 8 and 43 duking it out. Braxton DeWeese trying to do whatever he can. Man, look at this battle here between these two drivers. Diego almost gets a little bit loose, a little sideways, and Matthew Dyer is just following between these two, just waiting for the time to come. Very patient driving out of Braxton DeWeese. It's allowed him to take this third place spot. And Diego Villalobos has put up a lot of fight here and is not going to let this get away from him easily as we come out of turn 20 down the front straightaway. We're going to ride on board with my Matthew Dyer here in 5th place at the moment. In that number 2 machine, you can hear throttle work, just taking a moment to listen there. You can hear and see how much these cars want to slide and drift all over the place as they try and navigate the S's. Very solid driving here from Matthew Dyer. Very patient, I have to say, as well. As he gets closer and closer towards the rear end of Diego Villalobos. As they continue their battle for 3rd place, but it looks like there's going to be a battle for 4th here as Matthew Dyer closes in on the 43 of Diego Villalobos. All the way back here, though, Jeffrey Meyer in 16th at the moment, chasing down Timothy Davis in that 92 machine. Excuse me. Timothy Davis going to let Jeffrey Meyer on by after he suffers a little bit of an incident here. I'm not exactly sure what happened there. We'll have to go back and take a look if we possibly can and see what happens there. But with all the drivers out on track, and frankly, there's drivers that are going to be getting a little off track here and there and finding themselves spun out, whatever the case may be. And there's been quite a bit of that here already. We haven't quite caught it all on film, but there's been a slow but steady pace that these guys have been making throughout this race. And if we take a look at our track map at the moment, give the folks at home a better idea of what these drivers are kind of dealing with at the moment, whether it's through pace, whether it's through just distance between the driver in front of them. A few different scenarios that could be playing out for a lot of these guys. Matt White in the 48, one of those drivers here that is not exactly being affected by pace or distance. He is actually starting to close in on Kenny Meadows in the 96 machine. Now, in that 11th place spot here. Now, as we are about actually halfway through the first stage here, if you will. Again, lap 14 is going to be where we complete this first stage here. Braxton DeWeese here all the way in 3rd at this time after finally getting his way around Diego Villalobos after some time. It's now going to be Matthew Dyer, also now in that 4th place spot. Diego's starting to have a little bit of problems here, starting to fall off of that pace in that 43 machine, and still holding on to 5th, trying to do everything he possibly can. But look at this long string of drivers that we have coming down. Kind of this long back straight here out of turn 11 going into turn 12 that Colby Babber has just now worked his way into. Evan Longacre behind him in the 95. John Binder in the 8 machine. Or in 8th place, excuse me, not in the 8 machine. That is Braxton DeWeese in the 8 machine. But Colby Babber in the 6th place spot right now. Between himself and Matthew Dyer, it's almost about 10 seconds of a gap between the two. And he's not exactly making the same pace as Matthew Dyer, and he's not exactly closing it too much as well. But given that he's got Evan Longacre on his tail, John Binder, Julio Villalobos Jr. as well, kind of trailing behind him in this long string of drivers. I'm going to be curious to see how this affects the field and how we happen to see drivers come down as tire wear becomes a factor. As again, these cars are being pushed to their absolute limits here today, and I do have a feeling that it's going to be very interesting to see how these guys continue to manage this track even after their tires are practically gone. You can almost even see it now. The driver's starting to struggle with that tire wear. Again, 20 turns that we have here at COTA. You could almost consider a couple of them to be one as one turn, but that's all technical details. Anyway, at this point in time, it's going to be tough to see how these guys kind of recoup that tire loss and see how that's going to affect their pace. But Billy Fitzgerald, at the moment, going to be still leading this race. I think since the start, Billy Fitzgerald has been the leader and has continued to stay in the lead here. Has not, he's stayed in the same position, and I believe he has led this entire race. So the 22 machine showing some incredible dominance here today, and I do have to say that's a very difficult thing to do here. But when you are at a road course, that is almost what you have to do and almost what you want to do. You don't exactly want to have to work your way through the pack, through the field on a road course. It is easier said than done. There's a lot of things that you have to consider. There's a lot of different factors that come into play that you might not be aware of before the race. Now, for Billy Fitzgerald at the moment, a lot of practice seems to have come into handy. Maybe not. Maybe just a lot of confidence with the car and just a lot of confidence with road courses in general. Now, if you are a patient driver, oh, wow, look at that. David Santini absolutely smacked that turtle on the curb. And he drove right through the S's as he recovered from that. That's one of the things that you have to look out for. You have to be really careful about, and it's very difficult and very easy for drivers to make that mistake. It's something that you, with a car like this, again, these cars are not designed to do what they're here for today. They are designed to be on an oval where they're going fast, you brake hard, you go left. It's pretty simple mechanics there for the most part. But here, it's not that simple. And when you're forcing these cars to do something that they're not naturally designed to do, well, things get quite interesting. You'll see drivers sliding all over the place, really struggling to maintain these cars. So to give you kind of a better idea of what exactly I mean, let's actually ride on board from the cockpit view of Matthew Dyer once again, and let's just kind of get an idea here as he follows behind Diego Villalobos in that 4th place spot. You can see getting up on the curb there. I believe they are working their way now through. Yes, so this is going to be turns 17 and 18. So this will go into turn 19 here, and then a short straight into turn 20. And across the checkered line. So you can see Diego Villalobos a little wide there out of 20, but doing a great job there. Keeping his speed, and that's important, especially as you're coming out of that very, very slow turn out of turn 20. And here we go again, right into one. You can hear him gearing down very, very low. Diego very high on the curb there. That's going to cost him a little bit of time. Careful into turn 2. Going into the S's in 3. And these really, they go all the way out up until turn 9. And you can see Matthew Dyer doing everything he can. Yeah, you can see how it wants to fight him back too. These cars just not too friendly on these road courses, but these guys doing incredible jobs here of making it work. Yep, a little on the curb there. Good work from both drivers. And frankly, you gotta give credit to Matthew Dyer for keeping this battle up for as long as he has. Matthew Dyer in that 2 machine, staying on the bumper of that 43 of Diego Villalobos for, I actually have lost count of how many laps it's been, but we are only just a quarter of the way through the race at the moment. Lap 10 of 40. We're going to have 4 more laps until we reach that stage point. Stage break for the race. And at the moment, Diego Villalobos here still trying to do all he can to hold off Matthew Dyer, and we'll see if that holds up for any longer here. But Matt White going to be giving Julio Villalobos a little bit of trouble here in the 48 machine as they work their way out of 19 into 20. Or excuse me, that's actually working their way into turn 12. Now as they come into 19, it's going to be Kenny Meadows also at the rear end of this battle here for 10th place in the 96 machine. Oh, Matt White a little bit loose, a little sideways there. Holds it together very well. We're going to ride on board here with Matt White as he overshoots the entry of turn 1. That's going to open the door for Julio Villalobos. Yep, that's going to give Matt White a penalty for sure on that one. That definitely did not look too good. So Matt White in the 48 machine after cutting track limits there. Definitely going to have to give up that time and give it back to the 45 as well as the 96 of Kenny Meadows here. And Julio seemingly starting to have some troubles there in that 45 machine. And taking a look at our last lap times, if you're looking at the left-hand side of your screen, it gives you a very good idea of what kind of pace drivers are setting and what we kind of can expect from the rest of the race here. So at the moment, Fitzgerald, last time around with a 217.75 as his last time. David Santini with a 218.53, and Braxton DeWeese very closely behind him with a 218.81. Diego Villalobos, 220.71, and Matthew Dyer rounding out the top 5 with a 220.88. So the top 5's looking pretty close, as well as Colby Babber, you can see as well, also very close there in the time. And these guys have done phenomenal work keeping together in these tight groups that they've kind of formed amongst each other as they've spread out on this race. It's very impressive to see, as Matthew Dyer and Diego Villalobos here both going to continue their duke out here for that 4th place spot. Both going to be door to door here as they come into 1. Very, very good work. That was a very clean turn from both drivers there. And as I say that, I believe that Braxton DeWeese looks to... nope, that is not Braxton Deweese. That is Matthew Dyer. That is a Mr. Clean. Okay, all right. That was unintentional, but that was a unintentional pun nonetheless. All right. Diego Villalobos here is going to start to see that pressure, feel that pressure, really, from Matthew Dyer, especially as we are 2 laps to the stage caution. And I got to imagine that once we kind of re-rack this field, get things sorted back out, ready to go once again here, I'm going to be interested to see how this kind of affects everyone, how this field is going to be affected by this change. Well, not really change, but by the stage. Diego Villalobos, Matthew Dyer here. Going into turn 19. Door to door. That is not turn 19. I keep mixing those two up. They look so similar to one another, but that was turn 12, and they're working their way out of 13, going into 16 now, into kind of a horseshoe, if you will. And you can see Colby Babber just trailing behind them as well in 6th place at the moment. These two still duking it out for that 4th place spot. Really the closest battle that we have on track at the moment. Now they're going to come out of turn 20. Lap 13 of 40. Billy Fitzgerald, David Santini, both 1 and 2. And have stayed there since the start of this race. Diego Villalobos and Matthew Dyer are going to come across the line. 4th and 5th at this point in time. Diego doing great work, staying out in front of Matthew. Not going too wide there, out of 1, and we have seen that already a few times from drivers. Turn 1, really a lot of these hairpin-esque turns have seen a lot of issues for drivers here. So we get another view of the S's. Let's see if anyone makes any critical mistakes there. Doesn't look like anyone will this time around. Everyone's seemingly getting a lot more comfortable as those tires start to get hot. They get a little bit more tight, but can also be a little bit more dangerous depending on where you find yourself on track. If the part of track that you're on is a little bit colder and not as grippy as the rest of the track, things can get a little dicey. But everyone here still doing a great job, and especially being at COTA, being in Texas, going to be a little warmer out on track, so do have a feeling that that is going to be attributed to that here as well today for today's race. But still looking at what drivers are doing and how they're doing at this point in time. Everyone is looking quite fantastic. Diego Villalobos, Matthew Dyer here, still duking it out for this 4th place spot. Swapping back and forth as they work their way through the hairpin. Or not the hairpin, excuse me, the horseshoe. Kind of, rather, if you will. And right there, folks, Matthew Dyer doing exactly what I was expecting to see someone to do. As those tires get a little hot, you find a part of the track that is a little bit colder than the rest, and the car just wants to snap and get away from you. Your tires just start spinning, and you have nowhere to go but wherever the car was intending to. And here it is again, Matthew Dyer getting a little bit wide, coming out of turn 20. Nope, that is not turn 20, that's turn 19. But this is going to be lap 14 here, so I'm going to expect the stage caution to come out here. But Robert Norfleet, Kenny Meadows here, both still, they're going to be starting to trail into one another here for this 8th place spot, as I still believe we're going to have stage break, but I'm not sure exactly when that's going to be. I've been told it was lap 14, but I might be incorrect on that assumption here. But anyhow, let's take a look at what our top 10 have done here so far. It's Billy Fitzgerald in that first place spot. David Santini just behind him in second place. Braxton DeWeese all the way up 8 positions since the start of today's race in that third place spot in the 8 machine. So doing great work there in the 8 machine. Braxton DeWeese holding on to third and seeing if he can pull off anything further here. Diego Villalobos in fourth place at the moment in the 43. Doing great work from that point in perspective. Colby Babber in fifth in the 10 machine. Matthew Dyer in sixth place in the 2 machine. Evan Longacre going to be in 7th place. Robert Norfleet in 8th. Kenny Meadows in 9th. And John Binder going to be in 10th. As it does look like we will have our stage caution. It does look like our stage caution will come out, so you can see our pace car has made its way out onto track. And Billy Fitzgerald is going to get the wave around here, and the field is going to stack up behind David Santini in the 79 once Billy Fitzgerald makes his way back around. 26 laps left to go here in this race, and it has been phenomenal since the start. Billy Fitzgerald taking away the lead here. Actually, he's going to stay back and rejoin the field here. But it has been a phenomenal race for a lot of these drivers here today, and for Billy Fitzgerald, David Santini, it has been absolutely incredible. Both of these drivers have stayed in first and second place since the start. And for a track like this, that is not an easy thing to do. Both of these drivers, got to give them credit where credit is due. And with 26 laps left to go here, I'm excited to see how these drivers tackle the rest of this race and see if we're going to see anyone make any crucial mistakes and find themselves back even further where they were possibly at the start. And once again, our stage results. Billy Fitzgerald taking that first place spot with David Santini in second, Braxton DeWeese in third, Diego Villalobos in fourth, Colby Babber in fifth for our first stage result, or for the top 5. Evan Longacre in sixth, Matt Dyer in seventh, Robert Norfleet in eighth, Kenny Meadows in ninth, John Binder in 10th, Matt White in 11th, Julio Villalobos Jr. in 12th, Barry Stevens in 13th, Brent Wall in 14th, Jeffrey Meyer in 15th, Timothy Davis in 16th, Bobby Harmon and Richard Malagani both did not start for today's race, so will not be counted for the first stage. Riding along with Diego Villalobos here as we track along with the pace car before we get started here once again. looks like here we're going to make a pit stop for our drivers. And a very smart thing to do here after 14 laps out on track. This is definitely a good time to come down into pit road and get a fresh set of tires. So you can see the pit crew of Billy Fitzgerald there up in front in that 22 machine. There he goes, out he goes. The rest of the field's going to be making their way now out of pit road here as well. But Billy Fitzgerald going to be the first one out, back out onto track here. With 25 laps left to go. And all of these drivers going to be on cold tires on a hot track. A combination that is only fueled for disaster. Now that our field has had a chance to re-rack and get lined back up again for another start, things might get interesting here between the drivers that have been fighting through the field to get back up here into the top 5 or to the top 3, whatever the case may be. Braxton DeWeese, definitely one of those drivers here, as he seems to have beaten David Zentini out of pit road, taking that 3rd place spot here. Very interesting to see that for Braxton DeWeese here, who has continued to show impressive work here throughout this race. So I'm going to expect to see Braxton DeWeese maybe even battle it out here for the lead with Billy Fitzgerald. So Billy Fitzgerald, Braxton DeWeese, David Zentini, Diego Villalobos going to be the top 4 here. The lights go off on the pace car. We will see the pace car drop down into pit road. And the green flag will fly here once again at Circuit of the Americas here in Texas. As we work our way through the horseshoe. Go, folks, out of 19 and into 20. The pace car will take a quick dive down into pit road. There it goes. Out of turn 20 we go, and once we cross that checkered line, it's green flag racing from here. 25 laps left to go. 24 as we cross the line, and the flag flies. The green lights are on, but they were already racing before we even before we even started that, and into turn 1 we go. Braxton DeWeese, very good work, but trouble behind them. Drivers going too wide for the most part out of turn 1. Very impressive work. No one getting too banged up, gobbled up out of that one. Very good work there out of all of our drivers, keeping it together. But Robert Norfleet going to get a little trouble here from Kenny Meadows as trail of drivers starts to... Oh, wow, look at that. Julio Villalobos smacks the curb. That sends him flying across the track, but keeps it together. He's still holding on to 12th place, but that's going to cost him some speed, some time. Barry Stevens in the 78 down on his inside now. Oh, that sends Barry Stevens sideways. Stevens now going to have to recover from that one after making contact with Julio. Banged up front end of the 78 machine of Barry Stevens. That is not going to look too good for Barry here today. I'm sure he's not going to be too pleased with that one either. Kenny Meadows tracking down Robert Norfleet for that 7th place spot here. Look at this string of drivers as they come down the long straight out of 11 into 12. Kenny Meadows trying to get on the inside of the 56 of Robert Norfleet. Matt White also right behind them, starting to form a little bit of a pack here. Who's that way, way wide up there? It might have been Evan Longacre, I think. But Kenny Meadows here very wide out of 17 and 18. As they come into 19 here, it's going to be Robert Norfleet still holding on to that 7th place spot. Just behind them, Julio Villalobos trying to recover back from what he's lost. Up to 9th place now as he comes out of turn 20 and down the final stretch. Brent Wall, John Binder holding off Matt White at this point in time. But not for very long, the 48. Going into turn 1 here. Sticking behind the 6 of Brent Wall, taking it easy, not trying to get too aggressive here with only 23 laps left to go. And given and knowing how easy it is to get put out of a race such as this one at a track this difficult, definitely don't want to put yourself in that situation. But look at this. We have a change for the lead. It's Braxton DeWeese. Billy Fitzgerald in that 2nd place spot after leading this race for so long. Braxton up 10 positions since the start of this race. He's going to be leading this race now. And after a long fought battle through the field to get to where he's at now, all he has to do is just keep his pace and keep consistent. Especially with Billy Fitzgerald on his tail, that is going to be a tricky order. That's not always going to be an easy task. Billy Fitzgerald has shown that he has what it takes to keep the pace here at COTA, but given that all the drivers here have just come down pit road, lap 15, we're only on lap 18 now at the moment, you gotta wonder how things are gonna go for the rest of the race here for these drivers, especially as the tires start to warm back up and the battles start to reform. David Santini also trying to get his way back up into the mix here as things continue to develop. Evan Longacre in the 95 in 6th place. Gonna have Robert Norfleet, Kenny Meadows trailing just behind them. These guys all starting to file out just a little bit between one another. Just a little bit of a gap between these drivers, and frankly, this is the final stage of the race. 22 laps. You know, these guys are definitely going to be wanting to stay as calm as possible, wanting to conserve really as much as possible for their tires, for their fuel, to try and keep it out as long as possible. Because I'm not sure exactly if they're going to come down here into pit road one more time It does not. I do not think they are going to. It does not seem like they're going to, based on my math. But even with that in mind, these guys are still going to be fighting that tire wear. They're going to be sliding a lot more than usual, especially once we get past that 10 to go point. Braxton Deweese and Billy Fitzgerald still duking it out for that first place spot. Billy Fitzgerald trying to do all he can to retake that lead, but he also might be even considering the fact that he needs to conserve as well and not be too aggressive and not push himself as much as he might have been towards the beginning of the race here. So might even just be letting Braxton take that lead and give it a shot here. But we'll see as time progresses on. Diego Villalobos in the 5th place spot here. Goes wide out of turn 16. That almost opened up the door for Evan Longacre, it looked like, but not quite. Diego still keeping great pace, keeping speed as much as he can, even despite how many times it seems like he goes over the track limits. So look at this here, three-way battle for first, but Braxton Deweese charges out of turn 1. That was absolutely impressive there for Braxton, increasing that distance between himself and David Santini and Billy Fitzgerald. But David Santini now going to be in that 2nd place spot as he overtakes Billy Fitzgerald. So not quite sure what's going on in that 22 machine as he starts to fall off that pace that we initially seen him setting for the start of the race here. Let's actually ride on board with Billy Fitzgerald and see if we can get a better perspective of what's going on the inside of the 22. Everything seems calm and steady, and listening to the throttle inputs. Taking another listen here. Very calm, very steady. Very impressive driving from the 22, Billy Fitzgerald. Yeah, and it seems like as the 8, Braxton Deweese and David Santini in the 79 start to form that little bit of draft between each other, kind of going on the straights, they get enough speed between them that Billy Fitzgerald just kind of isn't able to keep up necessarily. He kind of has to rely on sending it into those turns a little bit later and hoping that it works out for him, that he's able to keep that grip and able to keep that speed, that momentum moving here as the 22 continues to try and recover that first place spot that he was fighting so hard to retain for this race. Julio Villalobos Jr. here still with Matt White. That 88 machine duking it out for that 9th place spot here at the moment. We've seen these two kind of in the same spots with one another throughout this race here. So it's interesting to see that it's continued to stay that way even as we approach lap 20, halfway through this race. Diego Villalobos here on the charge of the 10 machine of Colby Babber for 4th place here. Diego, another driver that we have seen do quite well here throughout this race and has seen himself in quite the number of battles. Colby Babber, though, also up 4 positions in this race here. Going to be trying to do everything he can to hold on to that 4th place spot. As looks like we have a little bit of a switch up for the lead. Braxton DeWeese having some looking like some issues there in that 8 machine, but David Santini, Billy Fitzgerald now going to take that 1st and 2nd place spot once more. Billy Fitzgerald now going to have an opportunity once again to retake that lead if he can do so. Billy Fitzgerald here going to be back on the charge. Diego Villalobos, Colby Babber still duking it out for that 4th place spot, and just behind them it's Evan Longacre and Kenny Meadows on the charge. Riding on board here with Kenny Meadows as we work our way through turn 1. He's on the inside of Evan Longacre in that 95 machine. Going into turn 2, it's the start of the S's here. Here we go through the tricky S's. And you can see how these cars want to snap away from the drivers, how they want to get away from them. Very good work there from Kenny Meadows, catching up to Evan Longacre. Evan Longacre on the inside. Oh, the apron. He's going to smack the... Oh, gosh. Yeah, and that's just one of the things that can happen there. Evan Longacre getting up onto the curb. That's going to cost him a lot of time, and that's going to allow Kenny Meadows to take that 6th place spot. And all Kenny needs to do now is keep the same pace that he's been and hopefully be able to work his way up to the 43 of Diego Villalobos, who is just in front of him, just under 2 1/4 seconds in pace. Diego Villalobos here has also started to see Colby Babber start to slip away from him in that 10 machine, very surprisingly. Not exactly sure if Colby here is just on a mission to try and work his way up into the top 3, or if Diego here is struggling to hold on to the 43 in the final stage of this race. So David Santini, after taking the lead here, has Billy Fitzgerald still in 2nd place and has increased his gap now between himself and Billy Fitzgerald to just about 2 seconds. And in terms of being here at a road course, that is a lot of time to close, but not exactly impossible, especially with the number of turns that we have here and the S's that have posed a lot of challenges for drivers here today. I wouldn't exactly put Billy Fitzgerald out of the picture here just quite yet. And if you take a look at the track map down on the bottom right-hand side of your screen, you can see the distance that has been set between our drivers. And a lot of this field here has seen a lot of separation, not a whole lot really starting to form between a lot of our drivers here as we look up at the Team Goon Squad blimp camera here. Kind of give you folks at home a better idea of what we're looking at. So currently we're locked on with Colby Babber in 4th place. You can see David Santini all the way out in front, Billy Fitzgerald in 2nd. And you can see the distance between all of our drivers here at the moment. And these gaps that are between them right now, they're not the easiest to close. And once you are kind of on the bumper or on the inside of someone, it's hard to stay there. So it looks like Matt White is going to be involved. Wow, looks like possibly got off track there. Almost involved in a wreck with Julio Villalobos in the 45 as they come out of turn 16. But quickly recovering and getting back together. Julio holding on to 9th as Matt White continues to charge in 10th place. Trying to see what he can do here. As they come out of turn 19. Evan Longacre is going to come down here into pit road, though. I'm not sure what exactly for at this point in time. Only 17 laps left to go here, but we're going to see drivers coming down here into pit road for various reasons, one reason or another. Another look here on the inside with Billy Fitzgerald as he tries to charge back up to David Santini in the 79. David seemingly having some great luck here, leading some laps, staying out in front at this point in time and doing incredible work trying to increase that gap between himself and Billy Fitzgerald. Getting out of these turns nice and early, getting on the throttle very, very soon as possible, really. .17 laps left to go here. Coming out of turn 16. Colby Babber, Diego Villalobos are starting to catch up here to Braxton DeWeese in that 3rd place spot. So Braxton's starting to get a little bit of trouble here as he's fallen off the pace from that 1st and 2nd place spot. But Braxton, after suffering a little bit of issues a few laps ago, he's going to have to do everything he can to hold on to this spot. And it looks like Diego Villalobos there went off track for just a moment. Almost got a slip up. Colby Babber here. Almost another slip up there. We're coming down the front stretch here. Braxton DeWeese came down into pit road. Diego Villalobos. Colby Babber now going to be duking that out for 3rd going into turn 1. Colby backs off nice and easy. Going to take the inside approach into turn 1, but Diego here has shown that he is very comfortable going wide out of these turns and just getting on that loud pedal very, very early as soon as possible to do everything he can. Matt White looking like he had another incident here just a moment ago, but seems to be doing just fine up here on track. As we continue to look here with Diego and Colby. Colby in the 10 machine, kind of the silent killer here as he's slowly worked his way up here into 4th place and almost cracking his way into the top 3 here if he can get himself around the 43 of Diego Villalobos. You can see Kenny Meadows here as well, just behind Colby Babber in 5th place. Just under a 2.5 seconds between them. And Kenny Meadows here has kind of been leaning around this top 5, top 10 area. Really hasn't been able to get himself up towards the top 5 and stay there. He's had a lot of things to work through to be able to stay in this position here, but he's done phenomenal work thus far. Coming out of turn 16 now, going into the horseshoe, as I like to call it. Out of turn 20, Diego Villalobos, Colby Babber still trailing one another here for that third place spot. Really the only battle that we have on track at the moment that's within a second of each other. You can see how Diego almost overdrives it there. Let's ride on board here with Colby Babber and see from the inside of the 10 machine as we go through the S's. Colby dodging those turtles very, very well. Diego, one of the drivers that we saw smack one earlier on in the race. Also doing great avoidance there. Make sure he doesn't hit those as well. Yeah, Diego just seems to have something for himself here today in that 43 that is really working in his favor to be able to get himself away from the rest of this field. From his opponents, really getting on that throttle as early as possible, increasing that gap. Not quite working for him as well that time out of turn 11. We're going to come into turn 12. Sharp left-hander into 13. Out of turn 16 into the horseshoe once again. Babber in that fourth place spot, starting to seem like he's having some troubles there, but Kenny Meadows in that fifth place spot now, looking like he is getting more and more comfortable out here on track. Trailing behind Colby as Colby's still trying to track down Diego Villalobos here. And Diego still showing some incredible pace, some incredible line work as he holds on to that third place spot. Now, David Santini in that first place spot here hasn't had all the time in the world here to lead this race, but having led some laps now, he's quite comfortable there and giving Billy Fitzgerald a run for his money. Diego Villalobos here has about 13 seconds between himself and Billy Fitzgerald in second place before he's anywhere close to that 22 machine, but he has a lot more to worry about as Colby Babber starts to get closer onto the tail of Diego Villalobos here, riding on board once again here with Colby Babber for that chase. Out of turn 16. Oh, excuse me, that was actually turn 12. Here is turn 16. So Colby Babber here showing that he's able to stay on the rear end of the 43 of Diego. I'm just curious if Diego here is going to give an opportunity to Colby for that pass to happen. Now, in order for that to happen, Diego's got to make a mistake, and a crucial one at that. But it looks like Colby here is going to come down here into pit road with 13 laps left to go. A lot of these drivers kind of sporadic in their decision to come down pit road. It's never really a surefire decision as far as when they're going to come down, and really I think that a lot of these guys are uncertain as far as when they're going to want to come down. Diego Villalobos locks it up into one. Kenny Meadows Going to take that third place spot in the 96 machine. As Diego Villalobos there, going to have to recover after that. That was a massive lockup for the 43 of Diego Villalobos. And oh no, he hits the curb twice through the S's. Hits the turtles not once, but 2 times. The 43 going to definitely be hurting after that one. As he recovers from that, that was an absolutely hard hit on both of those parts. I almost think that might be where the tire limit might be. It might be 15, 14 laps here at COTA for these cars. And it makes sense. So these guys would come in about lap 30, 25 to 30, I would say, to get that kind of final splash and dash and last set of tires before the end of the race here, to get yourself set up and ready for the end. But that might not be true. That might be the opposite here. But we still have 6 drivers that are still out on track from their set of tires that they came in on lap 15. So that might still hold to be true. But David Santini, our race leader, coming down here into pit road alongside with Billy Fitzgerald. So that might have been actually pretty close to accurate. 12 laps left to go here. Driver's going to come down the last and final time here for their race. You can see the pit crew there of David Santini. Out of pit road he goes. That's going to pass off the lead here to Kenny Meadows, but he's a driver that's still been out on the same set of tires since lap 15, so he's going to be struggling with that tire wear quite a bit here, already here. But now that the rest of the field has come out on those fresher set of tires, you can actually start to see, it looks like David Santini already quickly closing in. At least it looked like that was David Santini. Looked like he was closing in there to Kenny Meadows, but about 10 seconds separates them at this point in time. But Kenny Meadows, Diego Villalobos, Robert Norfleet, Julio Villalobos, all still need to come down into pit road, as well as John Binder, all still going to be on those set of tires from lap 15. So Billy Fitzgerald here, after starting the race in first, going to be in fourth at the moment after coming down into pit road, cycling behind David Santini. He's going to have Robert Norfleet currently on his tail, but Billy Fitzgerald here, once the 2 drivers ahead of him, the 2 drivers in the lead, cycle down into pit road. Diego Villalobos, Robert Norfleet, both down in pit road now. Kenny Meadows, the last one that needs to come down before the lead change officially. But once it does, it'll be David Santini in first and Billy Fitzgerald in second. Between David Santini right now, he's got about 4.5 seconds to close before he's back on the bumper of David Santini here. who you can see working his way now through the S's as well. So Kenny Meadows here, still our leader at this point in time. I'm curious to see if he's going to come down here into pit road. Working his way through turn 12 now, coming into 13. This will be his chance, really, to come down pit road, I think, before he really starts to feel the effects of that tire wear start to come into play. Also seemingly taking things quite easy here, it would appear, but coming out of turn 19, let's see if the 96 of Kenny Meadows stays out. He does. He's going to stay out once again. Lap 11 of 9, excuse me, not lap 11, this is lap 29. Now lap 30 of 40 here today. Very interesting strategy here out of the 96 machine. I'm curious to see how that's going to play out for him and if that's going to play out in his favor. But Billy Fitzgerald at this moment in third place, he's definitely setting the pace a little bit faster than that of Kenny Meadows. Last time around, Kenny Meadows was set a time of 2:18.55. David Santini on that fresh set of tires able to set a 2:14.37. So Kenny Meadows here going to be in trouble here before too long. He's going to have to come down into pit road and get that new set of tires and ultimately have to give up that first place spot. Robert Norfleet in the 56 machine, following behind Matt White. As they come out of turn 2. Kenny Meadows right now going through the horseshoe once again. He's got David Santini closing in on his rear, just under 2.25 seconds between the two. Let's see if the 96 is going to come down here into pit road with 10 laps left to go. Let's hope that Kenny Meadows decides that it's the best time to do so. No, I guess not. Kenny Meadows has other plans, and hopefully there he goes as he comes sliding out of turn 1. Let's see if whatever he's got going on is going to work best for him. Last time around, 2:19.87 for Kenny Meadows. David Santini with a 2:16.97. Not exactly pulling away from the field, Kenny Meadows is, but David Santini slowly reeling in that 96, and Billy Fitzgerald as well, trailing behind just in third place with 9 laps left to go. I think Kenny Meadows at this point just wants to try and possibly win this race, but I think back in the back of his mind, he knows that's probably not going to happen here. As David Santini right on the rear, the 96 machine, going to be in trouble here. Sends it on the inside of the 96, almost collides with Kenny Meadows. David Santini round the inside he goes, taking that first place spot here once again. Kenny Meadows going to fall back into second after doing a phenomenal job on those old tires. Lap 15, he's been on those. So 16 laps that he's stayed out on those tires at this point in time. Just a few laps over what the rest of the field normally has done here. But Billy Fitzgerald going to be looking to try and close himself in. And let's see if Kenny Meadows is going to stay out another time around, or if he's going to take this time now to come down into pit road. Working our way through the horseshoe. You can see the time set by drivers on the left-hand side of your screen. That 2:19.87 sticking out like a sore thumb for Kenny Meadows here, and he's going to stay out one more time. At this point, I have a feeling that Kenny Meadows here is just going to stick it out all the way until the end. I don't think he has any intention of coming into pit road here for the end of this race. But that's going to give the door for Billy Fitzgerald. It's going to leave it wide open for him to take this second place spot. It's just a matter of catching up to the 96 and ultimately overtaking him when the time comes. We were riding on board there with Billy Fitzgerald, still trying to catch back up to Kenny Meadows, put himself back into that second place spot here. Not sure if he's going to be able to catch to David Santini at this point in time. Just about 5 seconds separates the two, and with Billy Fitzgerald having this slower driver out in front of him, this slower traffic, it's not exactly doing him too many favors, I would have to think, here at this point in time. But passing pit road here once again, Kenny Meadows. Yeah, I think that at this point, my assumption is going to be right here that Kenny's just going to want to stay out all the way until the very end. Billy Fitzgerald going to come around him as we come down the final stretch across the line. It's 7 laps left to go here at COTA. David Santini having taken the lead here with about almost 5 seconds between himself and Billy Fitzgerald. Billy here not going to be too thrilled after having swapped positions for the finish of this race here, I'm sure, with David Santini, but a hard-fought battle for both drivers as they come through the S's once again with 7 to go. Meadows now, after falling it down into third place, You know, I'm really wondering if he really is going to try and stay out all the way until the end on these old tires and just prove a point at this point. But only time will tell. 7 laps, almost 6 laps left to go here. We're working our way now through, this is going to come out of turn 16. You can see how much Kenny is fighting these tires. Let's ride on board with the helmet camera of Kenny Meadows, give you a better idea of how he's handling this 96 machine. Billy Fitzgerald at this moment seems to be increasing his pace with David Santini. I'm almost wondering if he's going to be able to catch up to the 79 here before too long based on timing. But David here has shown some incredible line work given towards the later half of this race. So kind of curious to see how that's going to unfold here. Both David Santini and Billy Fitzgerald have shown incredible performance throughout this race, and as we go through the horseshoe and get closer towards the end of this race here, man, with how this field has separated, you can see it on the bottom right hand side of your screen. Practically the whole field has spread out amongst itself, and a lot of drivers have found themselves out of the race. Just to name a few of them: Timothy Davis, Jeffrey Meyer, Matthew Dyer, Braxton DeWeese, John Binder, Matt White, Brent Wall, Barry Stevens. Actually, Brent Wall and Barry Stevens are still in the race. That's my apologies. But either way, a handful of drivers have found themselves out of this race, and that's not always the best thing to see here. So Diego Villalobos here finally catching up to Evan Longacre after a long fought battle here, trying to catch back up into 5th place. Evan Longacre in that 95 machine, going to be holding it on here with only 5 laps left to go. Evan Longacre locks it up into turn 1, goes sideways, opens up the door for Diego Villalobos. Takes that 5th place spot. Evan, not quite what he wanted to see there going into turn 1. That's going to cost him a position, and given that we're this late in the race, it might not even be an option to recover it. Diego, though, onto the turtle, goes up on 2 wheels. Recovers it very well. He's done that a number of times already. I'm sure he's quite comfortable with it at this point. Little sideways there, out of turn 9. Evan Longacre once again gets sideways out of turn 12, almost collects Robert Norfleet. in the 56 machine into that. Robert now going to work his way into 6th and pushing Evan Longacre down into 7th. The 95 machine quickly recovers it, spins it back around onto track. So the driver that we have not seen come down into pit road since lap 15, Kenny Meadows, still out here with 4 laps left to go. Still holding on to 3rd place, surprisingly, here as well, even with Colby Babber in 10th place on those fresher tires. He's still holding that 3rd spot and doesn't look like Colby's going to be catching up too soon here. So that's very, very surprising here for Kenny Meadows. I'm a little shocked by that, to say the least. And for him to push that window as long as he has, it seems to have worked out in his favor. I'm sure he wanted to stay out a little longer in first than he got the opportunity to, but given that he did have some time to lead some laps, and still holding on to 3rd place, that's got to be a win for the 96 of Kenny Meadows. Right as I say that, he comes down pit road. 3 laps left to go. Kenny Meadows going to be down into pit road, and I got to imagine here that's going to give Colby Babber that 3rd place spot. As he comes out of turn 20 and down the front straight. Kenny Meadows coming out of pit road, and that's not going to quite do it for him, so it's going to give 3rd place spot to Colby Babber here with 3 laps left to go. This race is almost to a conclusion. David Zentini still our race leader. 3 laps left to go as he comes out of turn 20. It's going to be 2 laps here, and the final couple laps that we're going to see here for Circuit of the Americas for the 2022 Midwest Sim Racing Association Rapid Fired Pizza Nationals. Billy Fitzgerald in that second place spot. Ooh, look at that. The 6 machine of Brent Wall. Having multiple issues here tonight. He's going to find himself out of turn 1. Avoiding the lap traffic there, but David Santini now working his way through the S's. You can see Billy Fitzgerald as well just behind him. The battle here for, oh no, Evan Longacre goes door to door with Julio Villalobos there for a moment, but Evan Longacre not able to hold on to it there. Almost gets sideways, able to keep it together and on track. Working his way now out of, I believe that was turn 19 there. David Zentini here with an incredible pace. Nearly 5 seconds separates himself between second place driver Billy Fitzgerald and the 22 machine. As David Santini comes out of turn 16, goes into the horseshoe. Not a turn 20. Nope, never mind. That was that's the incorrect one. This is actually the horseshoe. But as David Santini here will come out of 19 and into 20. The final lap will be upon us. And right now with the distance set between all of our drivers, I don't think there's going to be any battles for the lead or for any positions here, hardly, as Julio Villalobos, Evan Longacre are the closest battle that we have for 7th. These two going door to door there for almost a moment. Julio able to get out in front of Evan Longacre in 7th place now. And just out in front of these two, Robert Norfleet, Diego Villalobos duking it out for 5th place, excuse me. Into turn 1, it's the final lap. The white flag is flown. Diego Villalobos still out in front of Robert Norfleet. Robert trying to do what he can to crack himself into the top 5 before the end of his race here today. David Santini now working his way through the horseshoe. Into turn 16, into the horseshoe now. And the checkered flag will fly. The 79 machine of David Santini charging down the front straight and across the checkered line. He will bring home the win for the 79 machine here today. Billy Fitzgerald closely behind in 2nd place in the 22. Colby Babber now going to be working his way through the horseshoe section of the track. And if everything goes well, just a couple more turns to go. Colby Babber will take that third place spot in the 10 machine. Now to turn 20, Colby Babber goes. He will come across the line and take home third. Diego Villalobos there goes sideways out of 19. And into turn 20, Robert Norfleet still out in front. Diego sideways once again down the final stretch. Robert Norfleet taking home 5th with Diego Villalobos in 6th. Our race results here ready for everyone on screen. David Santini taking home 1st. With Billy Fitzgerald in 2nd, Colby Babber in 3rd, Kenny Meadows in 4th, Robert Norfleet in 5th, Diego Villalobos in 6th, Julio Villalobos in 7th, Evan Longacre in 8th, Barry Stevens in 9th, Brent Wall in 10th, John Binder in 11th, Matt White in 12th, Braxton DeWeese in 13th, Matthew Dyer in 14th, Jeffrey Meyer in 15th, Timothy Davis in 16th, Bobby Harmon in 17th, Richard Mulligani in 18th. And that will round out our post-race results. And we will now go into our post-race interviews for today's race, brought to you by the Midwest Sim Racing Association. My name is Mason Heimbaugh, bringing you the coverage for today's race. I hope you all enjoyed, and thank you all for watching, and I will see you all in the next one. Thank you all, and have a good one.
Pit late, but yeah, he definitely jumped some spots too, so I was definitely worried about staying ahead of him. It's kind of tough to keep going lap after lap trying to hit those consistent lap times, so it's definitely a real mental, physical test tonight.
Yeah, so I was watching there, and on lap 14, Diego kind of overshot a turn. And when he overshot, it let Kenny pass him. Where were you at in that mix on lap 14? And do you remember it? And did you take advantage of it too? Where were you at? Did you get around Diego during that same time that Kenny did, or were you anywhere near that to see what happened?
I'd have to go back and watch it, but I think what happened was I had to check up for that, which allowed Kenny to kind of get through. So I was just trying to be a little bit more conservative there, and I knew we had a stage break coming, so just gonna try to finish out the race strong instead of trying to get it all, in one corner right there.
Awesome, man. Hey, congratulations on that third place finish. I just want to finish up this interview with you and give you an opportunity if there's anything you'd like to say to those who are watching the broadcast tonight.
Yeah, thanks to Rapid Fire Pizza for sponsoring. MSRA National Series is a great series to run in. Thanks to the SimRacingZone.com Toyota Supra. It was a great car tonight, and appreciate everybody watching. Thanks, guys.
Awesome. Thanks, Toby. Appreciate it. And again, congratulations tonight on that third place finish. Next up, we got our second place finisher. And I tell you what, I don't think it's any surprise. I believe these two guys are on the same team. We got Billy here, Billy Fitzgerald. How did the race go for you? As I said before, you and Kenny had checked out. Y'all were in a different area code, really only racing each other tonight. So how was COTA? How was it this week preparing for the race and getting your guys' set ready?
I definitely put in a lot of laps this week and tried to get as fast as possible. It was tough trying to get used to this car here, and finally found some speed and some consistency. And David giving me a great race there. It was really fun.
Yeah, I hear you about the consistency, and I want to kind of dial in on that a little bit. Of all of the road courses that NASCAR goes to, and then we go to in this series as well, as we follow the real-life series around the tracks, I think COTA is probably one of the tougher road courses we hit. One of the reasons is there's some elevation change. There's a ton of flat turns, with that, really flat turns, and it takes a lot of rhythm. And you talked about kind of finding your groove and stuff. It just looked like from the very beginning that you and David really found a rhythm here. Like, how much practice did it take for you guys this week, and really what did it take for you to be able to find your rhythm here at COTA?
I don't think David didn't do a whole lot of practice. That was impressive for him, but I definitely did a lot, and I felt really good at first. Definitely had speed, and after that first hit, after the state's caution, I started struggling a little bit, getting a little tight, and then there at the end, I got stuck behind Kenny. I couldn't really kept getting up to him at the wrong spots to get around him, so I just didn't have anything for David at the end.
Well, way to out your teammate on the little practice there. I'm sure he appreciates that. What are you guys doing now? I'm sure you're all starting to look towards Richmond now next week. Kind of what is your mindset going into Richmond and the way that track's set up and how you're going to kind of focus the setup of your car for next week in Richmond?
Well, first off, I figured everybody knew David was a little injured, so I didn't feel like I was outing him. But I'm actually going to Florida tomorrow, and I'll be gone probably until next Wednesday, so I'm not going to get a lot of practice in for that track. I'm just going to have to steal a setup from one of the guys and do the best I can.
Well, hey, man, I tell you what, enjoy your trip. I hope you have a good time down in Florida. And, you know, that's what teammates are for. I've been there. You know, I've been on vacation, come back, and wanted to race a couple of the open races or something and needed a set. My teammates like, here you go, man. And I returned the favor for them. So, you know, it's really good having a group of guys that you can race with. And I'm sure you feel right at home there with your team. And yeah, it works out great. So, you know, teammates are always a good thing. I'm sure you probably want to give them a shout-out, too.
Yeah, of course. The guys at OSN Racing have been extremely helpful, getting me caught up on the ovals, and I've been struggling so far, but getting tips from all the guys has definitely helped improve me, and hopefully by the end of the year I can be a little more competitive in there. But then also, thanks to Rapid Fired Pizza, the series sponsor, and Old School Ninjas, the co-sponsor.
All right, man. Hey, congratulations. I know you say you're working on the ovals, but, hey, looks like you had the road course here at COTA down pat. So congratulations on that second-place finish. We are moving on right now to the winner of the race tonight. I tell you what, he is no stranger to the winner's circle in victory lane this season. This is his more than one win this season. That's David Santini from Old School Ninjas. Man, congratulations on that win tonight.
Hey, Mike, thanks a lot. I appreciate it. Yeah.
Hey, I tell you what, for some of us who struggle at road courses and the NASCAR stuff, now, I like road racing myself. I just prefer to do road racing on cars that are designed for road racing. But for those of us who struggle a bit, especially here at COTA, man, you were just like, you were checked out. You were in a different area code all night. That car was fast. You and Billy both. Man, what kind of tips you got for the rest of us here at COTA and as we head into some more road courses this year?
Well, I'll be honest with you. I don't know that I have too many tips. I enjoy the road racing, more on the NASCAR side of things. I don't do too much road racing outside of the NASCAR stuff, but I do enjoy how much more difficult it is because of how heavy these cars are, and they're really not made for this. So it's so much more of a challenge. I mean, if I had to give any tips, I'd honestly say back up everything more than you really think. I've noticed the harder you drive the things and the harder you get them into the corner and the more you try to make them do something, the worse it is and the slower you are. But, I mean, yeah, just back everything up and you'll notice. I mean, I think even Billy said it during either qualifying or practice. He thought he was dogging one of the laps and ended up it being his fastest lap. So, yeah, like I said, just take care of them. Be easy on the tires and just kind of let the car do its thing and don't make it do anything, and it'll tends to have more speed that way.
Yeah, and I was kind of curious a little bit too about your pit strategy and stuff. So, you know, Kenny Meadows was talking about there at the end of the race as the drivers were chatting on the radio that his initial pit strategy for this last part of the race was to just go in and take a splash of fuel real quick and just head on back out on the same tires. So kind of what was your, kind of tell tell the audience what your pit strategy was, and if you took tires there on that pit stop there in the second part of the race.
Oh, no, yeah, absolutely. I didn't necessarily have a lap strategy of when I was going to pit. It's kind of during the race to see how everything played out. You know, usually I like to either split it or maybe just go a little over and see where everyone else is kind of pitting. But I've been bitten too many times by trying to take 2 tires or fuel only or something. So I tend to just always go with 4 and fuel no matter what, because it's always the best. I've lost actually a few races in this league by trying to do stuff like that. So yeah, no, I always 4 tires and fuel.
Yeah, it worked out good for you in this race because, man, you were doing so good. You had such a good lead that, you know, it allowed you that time to have some comfort going in and getting those 4 tires. So, man, that was awesome strategy, and yeah, it makes the car a lot more stable. So I want to switch gears now with you, David, and just talk for a second about next week at Richmond. Richmond's it's a short track. It's a little bigger short track, but it's still a short track with flat corners and stuff. You know, it's almost like the flat corners we had at Phoenix, so it's kind of good that those tracks are kind of close to each other. But like, kind of, what's your guys' mindset going in to Richmond? And you know, are you going to be able to take some of the stuff y'all learned building your sets from Phoenix, and do you think you're going to be able to transfer that over to Richmond a bit?
Oh, absolutely. No, I mean, we have a really good thing going on here right now with everybody, with Evan and Billy and Barry, Binder, all these guys right now. We're just really clicking really well, working together, practicing, and I'm pretty confident that we will have a really good setup for next week and a good showing. If we keep doing the stuff that we are, I think we'll be more than fine. Really looking forward to next week, actually.
Awesome, man. But before we leave this, I just want to give you one last chance to give the viewers some final thoughts to wrap this thing up tonight from your point of view.
Yeah, no, I just want to give a shout-out to everybody, Rapid Fire Pizza, with Evan over there with the sponsor, everybody from MSRA with the league, our broadcaster with the Goon Squad, you, Mike, of course, for doing the interviews here for us, and everybody over at OSN. It's a great team we have right now, and I'm pretty confident we can keep this rolling here and get more of these wins here each and every week.
Awesome, man. Just make sure there's some room for some wins for the rest of us. We appreciate everything y'all do. We appreciate your sponsorship, too, there with Old School Ninjas as well, David. We really appreciate that. Man, congratulations on the win tonight. And I just want to thank everybody who's watching this race in the broadcast. Definitely want to thank the Goon Squad for broadcasting this race. They do a stand-up job for us. This league all around is a great place to be and a great place to watch racing. I tell you what, if you're watching this race and you're tuning in, some of those battles we had for third place tonight, we have those all the time. And when we get back onto the ovals, man, we are racing bumper to bumper, side by side. We have some awesome racing here at the rapid-fired MSRA National League. Just hope you guys keep coming back. We really appreciate the viewership. And all we ask is that you share this video, you hit that like button, and subscribe over to the Goon Squad as they're putting this stuff up. We really appreciate all your support for the league. Just keep on coming back. Again, this is Mike Howerton here at the Rapid Fire Pizza MSRA National Series League, and we will see you in the next one.
Driver Carrington gets dumped by Benami. The leaders are winding up here. Daytona, the big one is out.